Welcome back to the Haunted Basement Studio. In this 2023 movie review, I'm going to be talking The Puppet Man exclusively on Shudder. Dun, dun, dun. This movie was directed by Brandon Christensen and written by Brandon Christensen and Ryan Christensen. At the beginning of this movie, you're going to have a husband walking into a kitchen where his wife is making food and he has his mouth shut and he's like telling her to run. He's like, run, run. And as he grabs the knife and he slowly walks over to her, she looks up at him like all confused. And he's just like, you can tell like something controlling his body. And so he just stabs his wife in the gut and then hits her over the head with the frying pan where she ends up dying. And you cut to like a closet or like a cage where this young girl is in there, and that's the beginning of the story. And that's really no spoilers. That's going to set it up because it's going to go into the future now, where that young girl is now in college, and it was her father that stabbed her mother, and now he is on death row and going to get lethal injection. And the atmosphere in this movie is cold. They're in New York State and it is middle of winter and it is snow everywhere and it's just freezing. Like when I was watching this movie, I got cold. But that is the atmosphere in this movie. And this girl her name is Michael, and she has a group of friends, and it's getting ready to be like fall break where they're not going to have to go to school for a whole week. So their main objective is to get booze and get drunk. And they're not quite 21 yet. They're maybe like in their 20s. So they got to use a fake ID to get booze, but they eventually do get it. And Michael has a roommate, and she has been filming Michael at night because Michael sleepwalks. And she'll just like sit up in her bed, and it's pretty creepy scenes. Like, what's going on? Uh, but when she finds out that she's been getting filmed as she's been sleepwalking, she almost feels betrayed. But her roommate says, "Don't worry, I haven't told anybody." But later that night, when they're drinking on the roof, comes to find out that the roommate told her boyfriend about her and her past, because nobody knows about her and her past, where her father killed her mother and then she was like locked and caged in this room that her dad kept her in. It's just crazy. So now we're going to go into some minor spoilers right here. While they're on the roof and she realizes that her roommate has told her boyfriend what's been going on with her, she gets really mad. And then all of a sudden, her roommate is like walking and just freezes and drops the $20 bottle of booze. I'm like, hey man, that's $20 of booze. She's like, I can't move. I can't move. And then all of a sudden, she starts walking backwards fast, fast. And then she's getting closer to the ledge of the roof. And as she gets closer to the ledge of the roof, her friends look at her, but it's too late. She hits the edge and she falls over backwards. They run and they look down, and she's laying down on the concrete, cold and dead. And so now the remaining group of friends and Michael go to the police station, where Michael tells one of the detectives that she was so mad at her that she did it. She did it to her, but they don't understand because she walked off the roof by herself. As they get sent back to their dorm rooms, Michael goes up there with her boyfriend, but she doesn't let him in. He stays outside of her room because he wants to protect her. In the middle of the night, she wakes up sleepwalking. He's out in the hallway passed out, but he hears a door slam and he opens his eyes and he sees that Michael is not in her room no more. And as he goes up to the roof, he sees her standing on the ledge, and he runs over to her and grabs her right before she falls. And then she wakes up. She's like, oh my God. So before Charlie fell off the roof, she went to go see a psychic to talk about Michael. And she must have got some dirt from them, because her friends get a note say, hey, you need to go see this psychic, even with Michael. And so as all of them go see the psychic, all of them are believing in this. They say this is some sort of gimmick. But as the psychic named Ruby is telling the group without Michael in the room about what Michael is, and she is this deity, is what she thinks, a dojo, some sort of demon that attached itself to her. And then so they bring in Michael to start talking to her. Now Ruby wants to do an automatic writing session. So she has the group of friends to hold hands. And as she starts to act like she's going into a trance to do some automatic writing, and all of a sudden she does, and her head goes back and she's just scratching on the paper and going off. And it's like, oh my god, is she acting or is this real? And then she throws down the pen, like, what does it say? And she looks down at it and she crumbles up the paper and she says, I'm so sorry, this didn't work. And then Michael looks at her, no, what did the note say? What did it say? And then Ruby's like uncrumbles the note because they were asking who she killed, and it said Charlie. And Charlie's the girl that fell off the roof. And then she's like, who were you talking to? Michael is telling Ruby, and Ruby's like, no, no. And then Michael looks at her with evil eyes. Who were you talking to? And then all of a sudden, Ruby goes back into a trance and starts scratching on the paper. And then she hands the paper over to her and says, Michael. They all just leave the psychic's house thinking that it was a scam. And then the next day, Michael's boyfriend gets a text on the phone and says, we got it, because the group of friends went back to the psychic's house and they got this old ancient book that talks about rituals. And in this ritual is the sacrifice so a demon can take over a body. And they're saying this demon, this ritual was done when Michael was younger, and this demon is inside of her. Whatever you do, do not let her know that you know this, because the demon then will know that you know this. Boyfriend sees the text that they got the book and he needs to go with them so they can make a game plan. But Michael wants to go see her father before he gets a lethal injection and gets put down on death row. So he has to drive all night. And so once they get to the prison, Michael is going to walk in and see her father, the one that kept her in a cage when she was younger, and the one that murdered her mother. And he tells her the truth that yes, we did the ritual. We brought the demon in to take over us, but it wanted you, and the demon went into you. And you're the one that made me kill my wife, because whatever the demon wants, he can make anybody do. And you hated me so much for me locking you in that cage. I had to lock you in that cage. You were dangerous. But once you got that thought in your head and put it into my head, I was possessed by the demon and I killed my wife. I hate you. You need to die. You need to be locked in a cage. As he goes crazy, she takes off and she is crying in the hallway. She can't believe what her father just told her, but she now believes that she's the one that caused her friend to jump off the roof, because she was so mad at her that she made her jump off the roof. Even though Michael doesn't want to, the demon can take over, and Michael can just look through her own eyes as the demon is making these people do godly, awful things, killing people, committing that is crazy. And so now they're driving back to their city, and her boyfriend gets a message. And in this message, we find out that the other two friends back in the city were brutally killed. The girl with the book goes to the library and she's reading the book about the ritual, and she looks around, she lights up a cigarette and starts smoking. Then all of a sudden her body freezes and she can't move. She drops the cigarette onto the book and it starts to set on fire. and she's leaning forward looking at the book, and the book is starting to flame, and the flame's slowly starting to hit her face, getting closer and closer to her face until the book's inflamed and her face is right over it, and her face is just melting off, and she's just screaming, but she can't move. And then the dude is at the gym getting his lift on. He's doing some bench presses, and then all of a sudden he freezes, and then his body starts to contort, and he starts to put on 6 plates, 3 plates on each side, and then he lifts it up, and then he's holding the bar over his neck. If he lets go, it's going to go right down to his throat. And the scene takes it, anticipation, man. It drags out, and it was like, I don't want to see it fall. I don't want to see it fall, but it doesn't fall. It doesn't fall. His his hands, his wrists start to break back, and it comes down right on his mouth and just like kills him. The scenes in the movie, the kill scenes were pretty awesome. I have to give the movie that. And so now she tells her boyfriend to pull over. What was the message? What was it? And he finally comes clean, and that's fucked up because now the demon knows that he was lying the whole time. And she makes him break his own fingers, and then he starts slamming his head against the steering wheel, landing right on his nose, and blood's going everywhere. And then it stops because Michael is trying to fight the demon inside of her and say, no, just let me have him and you can do whatever you want. And then the demon says out of Michael's mouth, no. And then bam, bam. Boyfriend just slams his head until his head's pretty much gone and his brains are everywhere. So now Michael makes it to the police station. She's just like, I want to die. I need to turn myself in. And as she walks into the police station, she's telling the cop, I just killed somebody. I just killed somebody. Arrest me, turn me in. And then all of a sudden he brings out his gun and he starts to hold it at her. And then all these other cops come in. But right before that, he's like, she's trying to get him to shoot, but then he starts holding the gun up. He's like, no, no, no. She's controlling his body, and you already know what's going to happen next. And with that gunshot, you get more cops that show up, and now they're all holding a gun at her. There's 2 in front and 2 behind, and she's just saying, kill me, kill me. But the demon controls all of them, and they all turn to each other and shoot each other, and they all die. The detective hears this, and from behind, when they're falling on the ground, he tases Michael, and she falls on the ground. And that's when Ruby and now the psychic comes back in, and she's like telling the detective that there's a demon in her, and let's keep her sedated, let's keep her knocked out, because then we can transfer the demon out of her. This is where the story's going. So if we can sedate her enough, then we can just transfer it over, or if not, they can just kill her, and then the demon dies. But they don't want to kill Michael. And as they let her slowly like come back, where it's Michael and not the demon, they come to realize, like, let's transfer the demon into my dad. He's the one that gave this to me, and he's about to get lethal eject. So let's transfer this demon into him. And so then they drive back to the prison, now with Ruby taking over. And as they get to the prison, she meets with her dad, and she's telling him, take the demon. It's like, what if he doesn't want me? And then like it assumes that she transfers the demon over to her father, and just later that night, now he's getting lethal ejected. And then right before they get the needle in, and right before it starts to drip, the technician that's doing it just freezes as her dad is looking up to him with demon eyes, almost making him now paralyzed. But all of a sudden it starts to work. Boom. And then they start all moving, and while his dad's laying on the bed, and then he ends up dying. And then you see Michael look up at you and give you that demon smile. The end cut credit scene. So obviously, there's a lot more in that movie. I just kind of broke it down real quick, but some people are like saying the ending. What the f was the ending? The ending was the demon would be able to get transferred into somebody else, but they wanted to trick the demon that the person that the demon was going to get transferred into was going to get killed right away. They say the demon can go in not to dormant, but go to sleep. So if a person is in a coma, um, you can, and that demon was in that person with a coma, that means it's like asleep. So yeah, it does. It is kind of like, just throw it at the script. Like it doesn't make sense. It's almost nonsense, because the demon, they're gonna give it to her dad, even though her dad knows that he's gonna die. So why would a demon will like agree? Because he's like, I don't know if he'll he'll come into me, you know, because like, and then he acts like he did or it half did. It kind of like, no, the demon knew that her dad was gonna get lethal inject, and then the demon would die, and then have to go back to where it came from, and that's not what they want to do. They need a vessel to live. So it tricked both of them to when he did die, like he's still in Michael, and that's why she smiles at the end. And now she has to live with this. There was that crazy scene too when she wanted to walk into traffic. There's all this traffic, like a freeway, and like she just closes her eyes, and starts walking, and you just hear cars swerving around her as she's walking, and then she just stops. And then all of a sudden you hear all the cars honking. She opens up her eyes, and all of them are stopped. So like this demon will not let her even commit suicide. She tries to throw herself off the bridge. It didn't happen. Then she got thrown back on top. So it's like, I mean, it's pretty cool little, thinking about that. Not pretty cool. That's fucking terrifying. But like, this demon was making you invincible because, he wants to live, and he can make you levitate and make other people do crazy shit. Like they fucking gonna kill you, no, they'll turn around and like run away or do something else. So, but that was the Puppet Man on Shudder, and I do almost every exclusive Shudder movies that has been coming out lately. So that is the series that this is going on, the Shudder movie reviews. So yeah, check out some of these other ones that will pop up on the screen. And thank you all for joining me in a haunted basement studio. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10, which means I watched it. I mean, 6.5, so not quite a 7. But thank you all, and comment down below, and please subscribe and hit that like button, and just tell me in the comment section below if you've seen this movie, if you're going to watch this movie, you know, if you did, what was your ranking? 1 out of 10. Y'all keep it hardcore.